What's going on, gamers? It's your boy Diggs Gaming. Welcome back to Off Hunking's Gaming News. And this week, not really a whole lot of gaming news to talk about. It was kind of quiet, but we do have a few things to discuss. And we're going to start off with The Last of Us Part 1 going gold. So this game is ready to be shipped. It's going to meet its release date, which is kind of interesting because this game comes out in like 2 months and it's already gone gold, which that is really good. That's really good to hear. And what's also really good about this is apparently there was no crunch with this game. We've had reports coming out that there was no crunch, and that is a great thing to hear because Naughty Dog has gotten into some problems with crunch, specifically with The Last of Us Part 2. They got a lot of controversy behind it, but the fact that we hear no crunch is great to hear in an industry that's just all about crunch. So, yes, this is good to hear. I'm glad to hear that. Glad to see this game has gone gold. And then we had the developer of the game basically go on Twitter and talk about how this game is not a cash grab, how it's a game that was remade from the ground up with the love from the development team. And remember, this game was not originally started by Naughty Dog. This wasn't even originally started by PlayStation. This was started by a studio that wanted to prove themselves, that was looking to do something. So they decided to like remake a relatively modern game. They were going to start with Uncharted, but then they decided to do The Last of Us, and they showed it to Sony, and Sony was impressed and thought that this game, with the way that it was being developed, it needed to go to Naughty Dog because there was a team of Naughty Dog at the time that really wasn't working on anything. They needed something to do, so they put them on the game. This was not a case of somebody telling Naughty Dog, listen, you guys have to remake The Last of Us. It was a team that wanted to prove themselves, showed it to Sony. Sony liked what they saw, and then they decided to put the Naughty Dog team on it. That's essentially how this happened. I think that gets twisted a little bit with how this game got started. And on people saying it's just a cash grab, let's make that decision when the game comes out. If this is really rebuilt from the ground up, which it definitely looks like it was rebuilt from the ground up from what we've seen so far, then I am willing to say it is not a cash grab. But I know what people are saying. I mean, it's a 9-year-old game. It was released late in the PlayStation 3 life cycle. There was a remaster on PlayStation 4. There's really not a whole lot you can do. But then I see people talk about how there are things that can be improved with this game. And I get it from both sides. I really do. But I just think we need to wait until the game comes out. And yes, the $70 price tag seems a little steep, but to counter that, we don't have to buy the game day one. We can wait for it to go on sale because we see games go on sale relatively quick and they go on sale often. Now, there are exceptions to this. I mean, Nintendo first party games take years before they actually go on sale, but otherwise, we see games go on sale relatively quickly. I just think we need to wait till this game comes out before we really decide whether it's a cash grab or not. I'm just gonna move on to Haven Studio and Bungie officially being part of PlayStation Studios. So those deals went through earlier this week. And with the Bungie deal, I'm kind of shocked because I thought we were hearing reports that it wasn't going to be till the fall that this deal went through. But now we hear this week that the deal has gone through, that Bungie is now officially a part of PlayStation Studios. So I'm wondering what changed. We're probably not going to know. We could only speculate as to what happened. Anyway, with Bungie, this is pretty interesting because remember, Bungie games are going to stay multi-platform. This is really about Bungie wanting to turn their IPs into franchises, and we know PlayStation's been doing that with PlayStation Studios with Uncharted, the Uncharted movie that just came out. They're working on a Gran Turismo movie, The Last of Us TV show, the Twisted Metal TV show. We've seen that with what PlayStation's doing their IPs, and then from PlayStation side, they're looking to release 10 live service games in the next 5 years, I believe. And with Bungie, I mean, they're the ones that cracked code with Destiny 2. So it's an essential you help me, I help you type of thing, where Bungie gets to have their IPs turned into franchises and PlayStation gets help on those live service games that they want to release. Now, Haven Studio, this one's the interesting one. This was started by Jade Raymond, who worked on the original Assassin's Creed game. I believe also worked on the original Watch Dogs game. And She was a big part of the early days of Assassin's Creed. Then went to a couple other studios and then started her own studio in Haven. And they haven't even released their first game. And PlayStation played a big part in helping Haven Studios get started. And then they just bought them outright. And really, what's interesting about Haven is not necessarily the games that they are going to release, but what they do in making those games, because Haven Studios is trying to figure out new ways to make games, and they're trying to use like cloud technology. And I really cannot wait to see what Haven Studios is doing these next few years now that they're under the PlayStation Studios brand. I really cannot wait to see what happens with both of these. And yeah, so Haven Studios and Bungie are now officially part of PlayStation. Moving on to Western Digital's Black SN 850 SSD that is now officially licensed with the PlayStation 5 console. Remember, this SSD was specifically talked about by Mark Cerny, and it's the first one that is licensed with the PlayStation 5 console. And for those of you that are looking to expand your PlayStation 5 storage, the 1 terabyte is $169.99. A 2 terabyte is going to be $179.99. And there's probably going to be more down the line that are going to be officially licensed, but this is the first one. And it did not shock anybody because, again, Mark Cerny had talked about this, had said this was one of the best ones to use. Now, this is not the one that I use for my PlayStation 5. I use the FireCuda 530, and that works beautifully. And really, with the SSD, it's just perfect for Sony because there are a bunch of SSDs that work with the PlayStation 5 console. I believe PlayStation released a list of their own, and I'm sure there's other lists online. So anybody that's a little scared about getting an SSD, don't worry. There are plenty of SSDs to choose from, and there are probably plenty of lists online that show which ones are compatible with the PlayStation 5. And a lot of times they're going to say if they're compatible with the PlayStation 5 or not. So do not be discouraged by that. For anyone looking for an SSD, I would definitely recommend the one I have. I love it. I really do. And again, there's so many. Of course, we have Western Digitals. Of course, I talked about the FireCuda. I believe Samsung has also had their own and a bunch of others. Just remember, you need to get a SSD with a heatsink for your PlayStation 5 console. That is very necessary because it can overheat. So keep that in mind as well. Now, moving on to DevelopRight, and that is a conference between game developers that happened earlier this week. And one thing that they do is that they take a look at the games that were released in the last 12 months. So not necessarily all the games that were released this year, but also games that were released during the last half of the previous year. And they assign their awards. They basically award games. And their choice for Game of the Year was Horizon Forbidden West. And again, I know it's July, but again, it was from the previous 12 months, games released from the previous 12 months. And again, that's just interesting because everybody has talked about Elden Ring. And what's also interesting is, again, this is game developers. These are the developers themselves awarding their Game of the Year. And I'm actually stoked to hear about this because I am playing Horizon Forbidden West. I'm very early on in the game right now, but I'm already loving it. Guerrilla did a great job with this game. I loved the improved visuals. I love the new weapons. I just love everything about it. I really do. And I have said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Horizon Forbidden West is definitely a dark horse for Game of the Year because just how great this game has been. I know all the attention has been on Elden Ring, and then when God of War Ragnarok is released, all the attention is going to be on there. But Horizon Forbidden West is definitely a dark horse, and I would not be surprised if it's chosen as Game of the Year over Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok. But this is great to see because, again, these are developers, and they're recognizing Horizon Forbidden West. So this is really good to hear. I really like this. Now, moving on, Supermassive Games has been bought by Nordisk. Now, Supermassive Games, this is the development team that has made Until Dawn, the Dark Pictures Anthology, and The Quarry. And for those of you that don't know what Nordisk is, it's actually a film studio that's recently gotten into gaming. So in addition to now having Supermassive, they have a few other studios, including Avalanche, Raw Fury. Now, Avalanche, this is not the studio that's working on Hogwarts Legacy, that's a different Avalanche. Yes, there's two development teams by the same name. It's a little confusing. This Avalanche Studios worked on the Just Cause series. They were the ones that developed the Just Cause series. So this is pretty interesting because we have seen this before where a company has started to get into the video game market. And again, this is Norstdis that's doing this. And I want to see what happens with this. This is pretty interesting. This is a story I think I'm going to follow because we've seen the success stories, but we've also seen the failures with this. So I want to see if Norstdis could really does. I want to see what Norstdis does with, again, with Supermassive, with Avalanche, and with Raw Fury, and the other studios that they have bought, and what other studios they could buy. I mean, we're starting to see a lot of studios get bought, and it's not just from Sony, it's not just from Microsoft, it's also from other places as well. Anyway, moving on, we have a report that says Rockstar canceled next-gen versions of Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, last week we talked about them not wanting to work on remasters for the original Red Dead Redemption and I believe Grand Theft Auto 4. And now we're hearing reports that they just scrapped next-gen versions of Red Dead Redemption 2. And this one I'm really shocked by, if this is true, because I don't understand why you wouldn't have next-gen versions of Red Dead Redemption 2. This game came out in 2018. We just heard that Assassin's Creed Origins is getting a next-gen version. That game came out the year before. It just seems like it would be pretty easy to do, and it would get gamers excited and playing Red Dead Redemption 2 again. But I'm not the development team. I'm not a part of Rockstar. I don't make the decisions there. But again, it just completely shocks me that they decided to cancel this. Again, if this report is true, it has not been confirmed. It's just a report from a well-known Rockstar insider. But yeah, I'm kind of shocked to hear this. I guess they really, really are working on Grand Theft Auto 6, and they really want to put all their resources into that, which definitely wouldn't shock me if that's the case, because again, we haven't gotten a new Grand Theft Auto in almost a decade. So, I mean, Grand Theft Auto 6 is definitely going to be a hyped up game, and I guess Rockstar really wants to make sure that they do it right. But again, it just shocks me that they decided not to go with a next-gen version of Red Dead Redemption 2, because I know gamers would really like that. Moving on, Bayonetta 3 has an official release date of October 28th and has been rated M for mature. But I heard a report, and a lot of gamers are not happy about this, where, well, some are, some are not, where you can basically turn off some of the more mature parts of Bayonetta 3. And I think you know what I'm talking about when I say that. And some people are not happy about that, and some really don't care. And for me, I don't know. I don't really think it's that big of a deal. I mean, if you want to see the more mature parts, you don't have to turn it on. If you don't want to do that, if you don't want to have those parts in the game, then by all means, turn it on. I don't really think it's that big of a deal. And you know what? I don't know. I mean, I don't play the game. I've never played a Bayonetta game, so I can't really speak from experience playing the game, but it just doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. But maybe I'm a big idiot. I don't know. And we're going to move on to a little bit of a scary story. So this week, a ransomware group called ALPHV ransomware Bandai Namco. They hacked Bandai Namco, and it might have gotten some confidential files. And Bandai Namco said to the Video Game Chronicle, on July 3rd, 2022, Bandai Namco Holdings Inc. confirmed that it experienced an unauthorized access by third party to the internal systems of several group companies in Asian regions. And then they went on to say After we confirm the unauthorized access, we have taken measures such as blocking access to the service to prevent the damage from spreading. In addition, there is a possibility that customer information related to the toys and hobby business in Asian regions was included in the servers and PCs, and we are currently identifying the status about existence of leakage, scope of the damage, and investigating the cause. We will continue to investigate this cause of this incident and will disclose the investigation results as appropriate. We will also work with external organizations to strengthen security throughout the group and take measures to prevent reoccurrence. We offer our sincerest apologies to everyone involved for our complications or concerns caused by this incident. Now, Asian regions, that's excluding Japan, but this is pretty scary because what could they have accessed? Yeah, that is pretty scary. And this happens more often than probably should. I mean, we've seen companies getting hacked. I mean, it's happened to a lot of companies over the years. It really has. But they released the statement, and hopefully not too much has been accessed. And again, they're going to provide updates. We don't know exactly what was accessed. They have not updated us on that yet, but I mean, this is pretty scary, and it just goes to show no matter how good you think your security system is, it can always be hacked. Anyway, moving on. Metal Gear Solid celebrated its 35th anniversary this week. And in that, Konami announced this. Today marks the 35th anniversary of the Metal Gear series. By the way, this was on the 13th. Thank you to everyone that enjoyed and celebrated the series so far. We ask for your patience as preparations are underway to make the temporarily removed titles available again. Now, that's a statement that is really good to hear because a lot of the Metal Gear Solid games had been delisted and you couldn't access them anymore. And to hear that is really good, to hear that from Konami. Now, the problem was they lost like the licensing rights to the music used in a lot of the games, and they just didn't renew it. It just never came back. And now they're working to make these titles available again. That is great to hear, great to see, because the Metal Gear Solid series is still a big part of a lot of gamers. I mean, you have a lot of gamers that still love the Metal Gear Solid series, even with Hideo Kojima not being a part of Konami anymore, and with what happened with Metal Gear Solid 5, and not really sure what's going to happen with the series going forward, to play these titles again and being able to access them again would be great to see. And I'm glad that Konami decided to do this. And our final story, the Resident Evil TV show on Netflix has released, and I got a little confused when I saw the reviews before it came out because I saw just as many people saying it was the best adaptation of the Resident Evil series and people saying it's just another Netflix show. And then it comes out, and now we're starting to see a clear picture because I am seeing a lot of people's just not liking this show and just laughing at it, just saying how bad it is. And it just goes to show you on the Rotten Tomatoes audience score, because it is the lowest audience score out of any Resident Evil adaptation. Yeah, that's saying something because there have been some terrible Resident Evil adaptations, and this is the lowest one on Rotten Tomatoes, the lowest audience score. And I actually asked Meliodas to watch the pilot episode, but of course, he's not here tonight. Maybe I can get him on next week. Maybe he saw it and he can give us a clearer picture on it. But if you really want to see just why people are saying it's not good, then go check it out. Otherwise, probably stay away from it, because from what I've seen, people just do not like it. And that's all I have for tonight. As always, I will see you guys next time.